changes, but that was it. How, Lee and Bill, how are you guys?
Let's see. I wasn't at the meeting. I was absent,
Okay.
Dick, so I can't
Okay.
opine on those.
How about you,
Yeah.
Lee?
Good on my side, thank you.
Okay, and I'm good, Colleen, so Lee and I will vote to approve it. Bill is abstaining because he wasn't at the meeting.
Okay.
On the systems that we have for this week, there are two that are actually, only one is a system. Bob Sheehan's got one on Carver Street, Lot 6. It's right next to the one that we approved at the last meeting. This one's a 3-bedroom house. It's a complete system. The review is completed. It's just a big, large, cleared lot. The deep sands and gravel, no water table issue, no wetlands. An issue is there is a layer that moves from 54 to 62 inches in one hole and 61 to 70. It's compacted. I guess I don't think it's tight enough to be silt, but it's close. So his design calls to be pulled that to be pulled out. It's for a 1,500-gallon 2-compartment tank with no outlet filter, risers if needed, 2 trenches that are 3 feet by 45 feet by 24-inch effective sidewall. They're not vented. 466 gallons a day is provided for 440 required. The reserve is the SAS is between the trenches. We got 5 feet of water table separation. Fill is provided for both the primary and reserve to remove that restrictive layer. No ballast is needed. The SAS and septic tank separation of any wells or wetlands all greater than 100 feet. The only thing that I looked at that we should talk about would be the fill regulations that we'd impose and also the trench permit. Bill, and Lee, what are your thoughts?
I'm good with what you're proposing there, Dick. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, I am too, Colleen. So that's approved subject to our fill regulations and the trench permit requirement. The next one, we probably should talk before we're done about whether we need buoyancy calculations, but it's Alan Weiss for the lot on Cold Hill. It's actually just a permit for a new tank. The tank, the review is completed. It's a partially cleared lot. I have public water. That's a mistake. I cut and pasted. That's wrong. It's a well that's already there. There's a limited area for the SAS. That was Bob Sheehan's design. It's still that design. Alan went out, I guess with Lee also, found out that just as Bob Sheehan Sr. and I had done, is found the water table in the bottom of the leach field, which is whatever, 12 years old, never been used, was in fact 4 feet above the water table. There are wetlands to the east, but beyond the 100 feet. The issues that we had, it's that old system that's 12 years old or so. And we had seen the water in the deep box in the septic tank. Alan is convinced that it was the septic tank issue and that the design is to replace that, to replace the existing tank, put it in a new place, and that's what this permit is for. He's putting in a 2-compartment monolithic tank with no outlet filter, and looks like there probably aren't going to be risers, and he's going to pump and replace the existing tank. I've got that no ballast is required. That's probably something we should be talking about. And SAS and septic tank separation to the wetlands. and well greater than 100 feet. And I've got public water. That's a mistake. It's not, it's a well. And he would need a trench permit. So what do we, Bill and Lee, what are your thoughts?
I think
My feeling on the tank was that if we said the water table is the 30 inches, and when I looked at what the tank, didn't think he was down deep enough with the tank to be really very much into the water, but
again, it's a simple calculation, Dick. You know, I'm thinking going forward, it'd be really easy to someone to put a chart together for the different tanks that people use versus water table elevation. Have a little chart, generic chart. So all you have to do is look at the chart and see if buoyancy is going to be a problem.
Yeah, you certainly could do that.
Yeah, you could make a little spreadsheet, make a little chart, and everybody could use the same chart. And if you decide that ballast is required, then they go ahead and come up with a design. But at least the chart would signal that there'd be no ballast required under certain circumstances. But it's a real simple calculation for somebody.
Yeah, you want to do that in your spare time, Bill?
Let someone do it that's getting paid.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. So maybe Bobby Sheehan or Al or one of the guys can do that as an assignment, and we'll check it for accuracy. But I think it'd be a good service to the community for someone to put that together. Then everyone could use it.
So what is our thought here? Do we want them to just run the buoyancy? I think Alan's got that calculation.
Yeah, of course.
So is that what we're going to do? Is approve this one subject to Alan providing us the buoyancy calculation?
I think that's fine. So are we convinced that the leach field's in fine shape?
He said it was. He said the D box looked good. Lee, you're the guy that's looked. And when I talked to Alan, Alan said there was nothing in the bottom of the D box. No silt, nothing. And he said when he looked, there was no evidence that the leach field had ever been flooded, and that he in fact found exactly the same water table as Bob Sheehan and I had done in, I think, in 2004.
Well, that's a good sign then.
Yeah, I think we're going to be okay on the southeast side of the distribution box. We hit refusal in a couple locations, but then we went to the northeast. The sands, especially over test pit 2, the sands were very deep. Hopefully it's all going to be, what we believe is presented there, due to the age of everything. The only gray area here, nothing to do with the SAS, is I don't know if anyone's done any water quality on the well. I know that that's going to be acceptable going forward. I don't know if we should be addressing that right now or just let it go. I'm guessing the well was put in the same time as the SAS.
Yeah, and I'm guessing it probably passed our test at the time.
Back in 2004.
Yeah. I wonder when it comes time for us to, we haven't had to sign off on the building permit. Maybe we should just let everybody know we're going to want a water test on the well. It's, in fact, if Martin is here, just to let them know that to get us to sign off on the building permit, we will require a water test.
Yeah, I'll definitely supply that.
I just don't want the new homeowner to end up with another headache that they don't see coming.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, guys, the that little bump out that Bob Sheehan had prescribed years ago is actually shown on Mass Mapper on the assessor's map. Not that it's accurate, but it's at least shown on the Mass Mapper. So that's a good sign.
Okay.
And that bump out's where the leach is going?
It is,
Or
it's there.
It is? Okay, it is. Okay. All
It's
right.
there, and when we went in to do this, Bill, that the reason that bump is there is we really poked around and we couldn't find areas that had enough soil. And as we went looking, we found that area, but had to get off of the lot, and that's why the pump out is there.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Nope, everything's good.
Okay, so all three of us agree with that, Colleen, that we're gonna approve this, subject to Alan providing the ballast calculation for the septic tank.
Hello.
Okay.
I'm here.
You're there, Alan.
Hey,
We
Al.
just went
Sorry.
through your system, and we're just saying that we'd like to see the ballast calculation on that tank. You probably have it right at your hands.
It will not interfere with the location or elevation of the tank, but I certainly can provide it.
So that's all it is. We approved it, and we just let Martin know that it doesn't affect you right now, but before we sign off on the building permit, we're gonna wanna see a water test that well is also, whatever it is, 18 years old, and just to make sure the water is still good, that the family of raccoons isn't living in there right now.
Sounds good. Yeah, I didn't see any raccoons when I was there.
Yeah. So that's it for you.
Here.
We're all set.
I did see 2 deer quite peacefully right on the leach field. Yeah. Thank you.
So, Bob, Bob Sheehan, I see you sitting there. We did approve
Yep.
lot 6, subject to fill in the trench permit. Alan, I guess we're gonna also require the trench permit for that installation.
Yeah, that notation is on the plan.
I saw it.
Thanks.
So my third one is I'm
Oh,
looking for some
Dick?
guidance. Okay,
Dick, if I may, it's Bob Sheehan here.
yeah,
So the lot 6 septic design is approved.
yes.
Okay. How about the well permit that was submitted with the package?
We can do that out of sequence. That was coming later on, but that was just a well permit to put the well where your design called it. Do Bill and Lee, do we have any trouble with it? It's in the northwest corner of the lot. It's on the corner 15 feet in from both boundaries, both lot lines, and there's nothing else around it. Do we have an issue with approving that?
No,
Under
I mean,
my end, Dick.
I was there last Wednesday or Thursday morning, poking around out there, and I agree, there's nothing out there. I think we should be fine with that location.
Okay, and you said, Bill, you're okay with that too?
Yeah, that's fine.
Colleen, I am too, so that's approved. You can sign it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Bob?
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen and Colleen. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Okay,
You
bye-bye, Bobby.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Now, the third one, it's not ready for approval, although there's a push to get it approved, but that's the repair on 21 West Street. And Lee, before you came in, I told Bill, like, when I went onto that lot today, and when I walked into the backyard, I said, wow, what I'm seeing here in front of me is not really what I expected from the drawings. The first thing I looked at is I said, gee, on the back of the house, it's obvious it's a 3-story house. Not, and the bottom story has a deck, which the design calls out, but the deck is clearly for the bottom story. And when I looked into the bottom story, it's got big windows on the back side and on the west side, I guess, and completely finished. I couldn't tell. It looked like it was in some state of demolition, but it almost looked like it was an apartment. I couldn't tell that, but clearly there was a set of doors that there's a stairway coming down from the main floor, a finished stair, an open stairway that goes down into a little ante room, and there are 2 doors that go into like the main living space. And the living space has got a fireplace, and it's kind of jumbled up in there, but you can see on the east side, the whole front to back of the house is an open room with a closet in it. It's got
So Dick, what is it, new construction?
no, it's not.
No.
It's old construction, but
Well, how'd you get in the house?
I didn't. You can see it from the outside. The whole back of the house is windows.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
it's all glass on the back of that, Bill.
Yeah,
and it's,
I'm looking at the aerial photo. It looks kind of odd. It's got 2 dormers on the roof, I see.
yeah, and it's so the 2 bedrooms are upstairs on the I'll call it the second floor, or the floor plus 1 from the ground floor, and the first floor is floor minus 1. And that one's got all the windows that are needed, a doorway for access, 2 doorways, stairs coming down, a door to the outside, glass doors to separate it from the stairway. It clearly is the potential of a big bedroom. And so whether it was an apartment, I don't know, but it is not a 2-bedroom house. So that's the first thing. But as I said, when you look at the site, what you notice is on the east side, on the left side, looking from the road, is a stone wall on the boundary. Going across the south side, about halfway, is another big stone wall. As I said, the living space on that ground floor was obvious when you get there. The other thing is when you cross over that stone wall, it's very obvious that there's a major wetland back there. And then to the left side, on the east side, is a major drainage area from, it looks to me like a 1-foot corrugated pipe coming through there. It's a washed away area, but none of that stuff is shown on the drawing. And so the system is designed for a 2-bedroom house, not 3. They're calling out for and after I pointed out to Bob Caffarelli that I thought there was wetland, Bob ended up drawing a 100-foot buffer line to the wetland. I don't believe it's the correct one. He said he picked it off some kind of a drawing someplace. It's not been determined by anybody with flags. They just looking at the land, it looked like it was probably filled, but I couldn't tell that. But I did recognize that. So you've got to also, he's calling out a 3-foot separation between the water and the bottom of this is a Presby system. And code says that we could allow up to a 2-foot separation. We could. And however, it requires that that a soil evaluator working for the Board of Health be there to allow that reduction. And I don't see any notes that there was a second soil evaluator working for us. I'm not sure. When I look at that site with the wetlands, I'm not sure we should be allowing that 3-foot separation anyways, that maybe we should require only a 1-foot reduction, not 2 feet. The other, when I read the Presby system, number 8 on the state's approval said that can't be a multi-layer level system. And he's putting in a slope system, a terrace system. And it clearly says that.
Oh, really?
It clearly says that it says multi-level systems shall not be allowed.
Hmm.
So when I look at this, there's a bunch of stuff that's not right.
Well, is Bob Caffarelli at the meeting?
No, I ended up saying that we weren't going to be discussing the approval of this, but after I started getting emails and Colleen got emails, I said, gee, I should look at what the heck is going on here. And I find all these other things. Bill, if you put on your conservation hat, which I don't know if you want to do, but is this a thing that we ought to be saying, hey, somebody's gotta determine where the wetlands are here?
Like, I think they should at least run it by the commission if they want to go through. There's an exemption for existing homes built prior to 1983, but by rights, Bob should come by the commission at least to get that point across to the commission.
So then as part of my design review, I can tell him he's got to do that.
Yeah.
You know, he could be saying, you know, code specifically allows him to go within 50 feet of the wetland. You know, we want 100 feet, but we can, Title V says 50, but I don't know where the wetland starts.
Yeah. I think you should at least check in with the commission to get an opinion from our people. That would make sense.
What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, at the,
Like you say, we got to know where the wetland is, Dick. Boy, that's a small lot. Does he have the correct dimensions shown in his plan?
I don't know. I didn't see any pins on the plan.
But does the plan show a 200 by 80 lot or 85 by 200 plus or minus?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, the online contouring shows there to be about a 15-foot elevation drop from the house down to the rear property line to the south.
I would guess it's that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think he's got a number of things that we have to address, or Bob has to address yet.
What I don't like on one like this is I specifically, when I started going, I said, gee, I drove by that house and it looks like there's a lot of activity in the back of this house that it looks big back there. Is there anything going? And he didn't. I said specifically, is the cellar already built up and set up for a bedroom? And they said, oh, no. And then when I said if you look at the drawings you have, you don't see any wetlands. It was me that says, hey, I think there's wetlands back there. And all of a sudden, bingo, it's, oh yeah, there are wetlands. And I don't like to play that way. Shouldn't say play that way, but I don't think this board ought to have the responsibility for trying to catch what shouldn't be oversights from an engineer.
I'm looking at some historical aerial photos, Dick, and there appears to be a circular structure in the backyard. Possibly could have been a swimming pool at one time.
It could have been.
Yeah.
It could have been.
That might have been off that deck.
Yeah, because
Bill,
of course, with that sloping terrain, they'd have a heck of a time putting a pool in, but
Well, it flattens out in the back.
it does. Okay.
The slope is next to the house is the main slope, and then it moves. By the time you're 20 feet away from the house, it's pretty flat. And as Lee is saying, the deck is level, and it kind of goes pretty flat out after the deck.
Well, if it's flat after that, why doesn't Bob put a flat presby in? Why does he need a sloping presby?
Well, he shouldn't put the thing as it's pretty flat. In fact, when I asked him about it, I said, "Gee, I don't see any contours to the south of the SAS. What's there?" And he says, "Oh, it's absolutely flat back there. There are no level lines." And you say, "Well, why wouldn't you just make it flat?"
Right. Exactly. Okay.
So okay, then I'll proceed with the design review, and the guy that was doing the work said that he had a man going to install it tomorrow, and I just got a note saying he was canceling that, but he said, "Gee, I just missed your last meeting by a day," and I got back to him and said, "Yeah, well, Colleen stamped it that we only received it on the 19th. So you didn't miss it by a day. You didn't send it. The drawing was completed on the 6th. I said, "Why didn't you give us this drawing so we can go over this?" And his answer was, "Gee, I didn't expect this Board of Health to be so detailed."
That's the wrong answer.
Dick, speaking of review, just shifting gears quickly, our fellow on East Street, Mr. LeBeau, Jeffrey LeBeau, I looked at his plan set dated, I think, September. Was that the original plan he submitted? Has he submitted a revision yet or not?
He has not.
Okay.
He has not.
Because I thought he was ready to get that thing ironed out. But again, I haven't seen anything either. I'm surprised.
No, have not seen that.
Okay.
Okay, let's go through our list. Me. Hang on. But too many. Okay, let's go to Colleen's timesheet is a normal 70-hour timesheet. Are we okay with this?
Yes.
Yes, we're good.
I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
Okay.
And I'll sign that and get it to you.
Okay, thanks.
Next one is the payables. We're at a total of $1,885, $1,115 for permits, 20 for licenses, 750 for fees, and that's it, totaling 1,885. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
And I am too, Colleen. The three of us are set, so that's approved.
Okay.
The next one is, I'm going to break for a second because we'll forget this. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 8th?
That's election day.
Election day. Now, Colleen told us that that's very frowned upon. So we can choose another day. We can put this off we can skip 2 weeks. We can say we're going to skip 2 weeks, and then if Colleen gets something really important, we can schedule a meeting as needed in that period. What do we want to do?
I think the latter might be the best fit. If something is pressing, Colleen can reach out and we can pen it in. Otherwise, I don't see the harm in taking a little break, but it's up to you guys.
I could do that. Bill, what is your thought?
I agree 100%.
Okay, Colleen, that's what we'll do. So we'll move it to whatever that is, the 22nd.
I think it's the 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's what we'll do. Okay, now going back, we've got temporary food license for the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Let me hang on for a second. I'm gonna tell the people in my house that they're making a heck of a lot of noise. Okay, thanks. Yeah, my son just came home and he's talking to my wife, so they're gonna be good now. So that got a rise from them. For the Immaculate Heart of Mary Men's and Women's Club, temporary food license, and that's November 12th for the Veterans Pork Roast Dinner. Are we okay with that one?
I am. Yep.
Yeah, we're good.
I am too, Colleen, so that's approved, all three of us. Next one
Okay.
is temporary food license. It's for Granby Music Parents Association. License for 1-day temporary food permit, November 18th for grab and go meals. Are we okay with that?
Yes.
Yes, we're good.
Me too, Colleen, so we're all set.
Okay, and you want to send Lynn out to both of those?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Mhm.
The next one, okay, we did the lot 6 Carver Street, that's approved. I skipped over Ohala because I see he's here, but let's finish these. This is a sign off on, it looks like is it just a well sign off for 380 East State Street? Colleen, is that what we have here?
To get his building permit, so yeah, I sent you the water test. The septic was already approved, but
Okay, so we can, I did notice, even though it's advisory, that the iron level is more than 20 times above the recommendation. And it's just an advisory, but that's a lot of iron.
Yeah, substantial.
I don't see that we've got any reason to reject it, but the owner ought to know. They ought to be doing something with that, or they're going to be having some pretty rusty clothing and fixtures.
Yeah, there's some fairly simple mitigation systems that they can install for that, Dick. It's not
Yeah.
a big deal.
But I'm okay with this. Are Bill and Lee?
That's fine.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I am
Thank
too.
you.
So Colleen, so you can sign off on both the water and the septic, since we've already done the septic anyway. So that's just redundant.
okay, thanks. All right.
Lee, this one is for you. This is a certificate of compliance for 5 Darrell Avenue. Alan Weiss has signed it.
Yeah, Alan West design, a brand new install in the back, all according to print, all properly done.
So we're okay
No
with
issue.
this.
Yes, thank you.
I'm okay with that. Bill, how are you?
That's good.
Okay, so our last one that we have is for Ohala Sanitation. This is a hauler's permit for sewage hauling, a pumper's permit. I thought I saw him here.
Yes, how are you guys? I'm on my phone, so I just can't pull up the actual the app, but I can hear everything.
Okay. Ryan, my question to you is I guess it's you're out of Berlin, Connecticut. So I had a couple of questions. One is why would you want it to be coming so far to do this? And where are you going to be taking the sewage?
So we purchased Latour Wilson Septic out of Belchertown, and we're just kind of, getting everything in the works right now. But everything's going to be going to Springfield. We're set up with the city of Springfield to dump all the waste there. So everything's going to go there.
Okay, so
And we have two locations.
yes,
So we have location out of Berlin, and then we have a location out of Enfield, Connecticut, where we're right on the border.
okay.
So
But the real answer to my first question is that you've bought a company here, and that's why you're moving into this area.
correct. Yep.
Are all of your drivers, how many drivers and trucks do you have?
Two drivers, 3 trucks.
And are people all trained and they understand what the regulations are and this stuff?
They do, yeah. Correct.
Okay.
Hey, Dick, a question on this. Do they need to provide bills of lading for transport of the sewage to a particular plant so they can trace where the wastewater goes to on any particular project?
Ryan, you can answer that.
No, we're just, this is just being transported from residential homes or commercial properties just to the city of Springfield. So it's all going to Bondi's Island or to the Indian Orchard plant.
And you don't have to keep track of where you get this stuff? No one cares?
Is for the treatment plants?
Sure. Well, that would be a logical one that the treatment plant would want to know where you got it. But yeah, and as Bill is saying, you're driving down the road with something in a tank that I would expect that the DOT would require that you have some documentation of what's in that tank.
That's only for hazardous waste. All the drivers have to have their tanker endorsements, which they do, but we don't haul hazardous waste. So there's nothing hazardous in the tanks. So that's how every state and city works for non-hazardous material.
Huh. So no records whatsoever on this stuff.
So we pay by the gallon when we dump, and that's pretty much it. So as long as it's non-hazardous, that's it. There's nothing that we have to provide.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Bill?
Not exactly. I'm looking it up right now as we speak. I find that somewhat unusual. I would think that they'd have to provide a chain of custody and a bill of lading for any load of wastewater, but apparently not. So I'm going to look that up myself in the next few days.
Okay.
But thank you.
I agree with you. That just driving up to a treatment plant and say, I'm a good guy, just believe me, I'm just dumping it. Seems strange.
Well, when you get to Bondi's Island or wherever, don't you have to take a pH test or something prior to unloading?
No, for grease you do, because grease, that has to be at a certain level so it doesn't damage the digesters. As far as septic, everything's digital now. So I mean, you're swiping your card. They see who the hauler is. They have proof of our insurance. They have all our information, and you're just selecting the type of cargo that you're carrying, and
Yeah.
you're just off. It's all charged by a meter.
Okay. I mean, I just didn't know how it worked. I thought at some point in time they had to kind of take a peek at what you had in the back of the truck. Not that you would bring something in bad, but if
Right.
somebody that you just picked up from was doing something stupid, you'd have no idea what you picked up was off the scale, and to dump it in someplace could create some future problems. I just didn't know how the whole thing worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bill's
no,
gonna find that
it's-
out, so,
Yeah,
Well,
I
thank
gotta
you.
run down.
okay. So I guess I'm okay with this permit. How are you, Lee?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good.
And
So-
it looks like Bill is gonna abstain. He left.
Okay.
So, Ryan, we're all set with you. Colleen's gonna
All right,
sign it
so-
for you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Title Fives. I guess we can look at the whole group of them, and I'll wait until Bill gets back. But 21 Cold Hill Drive, Greg Everson passes. I guess let's do that one first, Lee, and then we'll do the whole bunch of Neil Jacksons after that. Are
Okay,
we
that-
okay with 21 Cold Hill Drive?
Yeah, that was the old LaJoy property. It was redone a couple of years back. It's very pristine. No issues.
Okay, so we've received that, Colleen. Now let's look at the whole bunch of these. It looks like there's 9 of them. 24, 26, 28 Smith Avenue, then 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13 Leo Drive, all Neil Jackson, all passes. Are we okay there, Lee?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and I'm okay with that, Colleen, so we receive all of them.
Okay.
I took the responsibility to talk to Dave DeRocher, and I've got to do some more research into it. He's doing this because it's his belief that there's a couple reasons, but it's his belief that Title V is requiring him to do this. And I told him that it's been a while since I've read this part of Title V, and I think that Title V says he's supposed to be looking at the SAS, but he's doing this anyways. But he said at the same time, while they're going in looking at these, they're putting risers in so that they can get into a spot that pumping is going to be much easier to do in the future. I guess they're on a 1/3 of the systems every year gets pumped so that everybody's tank gets pumped and looked at it once every 3 years. So that's what he's doing. But I did tell him I would look up in Title V and see if in fact he's supposed to not be doing this, but looking at the SAS. But that was the reason he was doing it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because Neil and his helper Bob were making extra modifications going forward to have risers at the level of the lawn on everyone's property. So all you could do is a screwdriver and you're into it.
Yeah.
No digging.
Yeah.
Going forward. Yeah.
So even if this part proves to be unnecessary, the inspection, the installation of the risers is probably not unnecessary. And but I do owe him that to look at in. I did, as we get into these other issues, I did get called into the high school, and the high school is trying to streamline their food serving operation. Currently, they get food prepared out of East Meadow, and they bring it over into the high school because they're not using the cafeteria for food prep. And apparently, and what I could see is that when they were doing an investigation into changing the ventilation system for the cafeteria, they opened up some of the panels in the kitchen and realized that the ductwork for the hoods, where the ducts were covered with asbestos and then coated with a skin coat, and the skin coat had cracked so that some of the asbestos was friable. It was able to get into the air. So when I went in, they were proposing on a little side area to build a wall and set it up to be ventilated, and they said that they had already had Greg Briggs in talking about this thing, and this turns out today I finally got a hold of Greg. But as I told John Sullivan and Adam and Queenie, I think, I said, before you even start here, there's dust. You've got 3 open panels where I can see the asbestos, the ducts and the cracks and I couldn't see in the cracks, but I said, there's dust every place in here. You have to start by finding out if you've got a room full of asbestos here. So they said they were going to do that. Although Greg told me that he was headed over today because they wanted to start the construction, but he had grave reservations about what was happening above the ceiling in the kitchen, and nothing is happening at this instant. But I just wanted to let the two of you know that I was over there. So there's nothing at this point for us to do. So
Right, I got you. But there will be.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We've done the meeting. I got on the next one is Northeast Paving Contingency Plan. Colleen sent that out to each of us. And this is for the breakdown of equipment that, as it was explained to, I guess the follow-up note that we got, Colleen, was that this is not an overall contingency plan, but only for the equipment that must pulverize this ABC rubble. And their contingency plan is based, it says, in the event of equipment breakdown, deliveries of ABC rubble will continue within reason. Equipment will be repaired and operations will continue. That's the first one. And then facility personnel will be trained on proper inspection protocols for incoming material. Any material deemed unacceptable will be not allowed on the site. And Northeast Paving maintains a spill prevention, control, and countermeasure plan on site. Plant personnel are trained in proper spill response procedures annually and upon hire. Northeast Paving deploys standard operating procedures to minimize the likelihood of potential spills. Equipment is inspected on a daily basis to ensure it's in proper working order. And Northeast Paving maintains an emergency action plan at the Granby facility. The plan outlines response to emergency situations to include fires, medical, extreme records, extreme weather, and all records to include an emergency action plan and SPCC are maintained in the plant control house. My concern with this thing is just imagine a plant that's got truckloads of this debris driving down New Ludlow Road, and their plant breaks down. And they are saying, yeah, we're going to keep letting them come in and continue whatever within reason is. And they're going to make the equipment be repaired. Well, what if the repair takes 2 months? And what's within reason? And you've got these trucks coming down New Ludlow Road. Do you tell the cops that it's happening? Do you tell the trucks to stop coming? What happens? You just, it's basically, unfortunately, like having your rectum plug up, and you just keep, going shopping and putting food in your mouth, and just say, well, within reason, why keep having this happen? And my concern is that this is potentially a big deal that's not being treated in a very big way.
The solid waste guy in Springfield is Hanson, isn't it? A guy named Lawrence Hanson.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I know him. He's been around a while. Is he in favor of approving this as is?
We don't know anything. This is by a private company, right?
Reading some of that documentation, I think Larry Hanson, DEP Solid Waste, is involved somehow on this. So I don't know exactly what the chain of command is on this, Dick.
Huh.
So I think you're right. I think we ought to take a cautious stance and research this a little bit more. Colin, could you maybe take a look at the documentation, see if Mr. Hanson's involved, and maybe, Dick, should we have Colleen call him up and just get his opinion what's going on?
I think it's probably worthwhile that at least start with the DEP and say, we've got some questions, because Colleen, from what I recall, the communications that went to you after you told them we weren't very happy with this, they said, oh, DEP just has got this other plan we've submitted and they're happy with it. It's just this little thing that they want to take care of. Is that what they said? Is that what Northeast said?
Yeah, he said, yeah, DEP, this Mr., I don't have his response in front of me, but that Hanson, I think it was, or whatever. Yeah, he said, yeah, DEP is aware of what's going on. And this was just to do with, I think, the recycling part. I think that's what they had said. So, they thought, but yeah, I'll look at his.
Yeah, if you
response.
can if you can follow up with that on the surface, this doesn't seem to me like a very deep plan, and that at the minimum, somebody should be calling the police department and say, hey, there are going to be trucks parked all over New Ludlow Road for the next 3 hours or whatever it is. And they're not talking about anything about saying wherever this stuff is coming from, we're going to call them up and stop these trucks from coming. They're not doing any of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But if you can,
Excuse me for a second. It sounds crazy that the DEP would not be concerned about what appears to be on the surface a limitless amount of material brought in during the repair period, when and if it will occur, without worrying about some type of potential runoff into the groundwater, among other issues.
yeah. So I think Bill is right. I think the place we start with is DEP, and then if we start to push that, they probably have a format that's supposed to be used for every one of these recycling places in the state. And find out, because it's a lot easier if we start with something that's in place than start from scratch.
That makes sense, Dick.
So I think Bill, that having your suggestion of having Colleen make that call is certainly going to make us smarter than we are right now. So then the next item, COVID issues that there's some interesting things happening where our numbers, if you trust them or not, are flat. I guess I can probably appropriate for me to send everybody a copy of where we are, but we're on this number that on the 14-day new cases is like 18, 19, 20. So more than an average of more than one new case a day, but that's only through Maven. All the other cases that are happening that aren't being reported are just not there. And of interest is what's happening. Maybe it's happening in your own house. I think, Colleen, you told me that it happened to you, but I'm not positive. That I know my son got it in the summertime, and he didn't end up in Maven. He took the test. He happened to be at the Cape alone in a house that he just wrote it out for 5 days in a house alone. It never got reported. And my sense is that when you bring it into the house and someone else gets it, you do the 15-minute test and say, yep, we got it. And we just kind of write it out. And that's why if you noticed our numbers right now, the number of almost all cases, Colleen, when you write them down, almost every one of them says 3 new cases, 3 new addresses. And there's almost never that I write down that it's not a new address, so that the new cases versus the cases in the single cases or in a household, they're the same numbers now. And it used to be almost 2 to 1 that only half of the cases were new ones. So I think it's just not being reported. The other thing that's probably whatever we can do about it is that they're saying that the 2 new subvariants that are kind of floating around, and they're around the 10% number, are resistant to the antivirals. So the 2 drugs that you were getting, if you got the disease and go in and get the one was the infusion, and there's something the other one that it looks like it doesn't stop those very well. And anyways, it's although I'm still hearing good things that the bivalent vaccine looks like it is effective against even those subvariants. So for all of us, and if we can convince people to get the bivalent, it's probably gonna do something to save us. So
sounds good.
Lee and Bill and Colleen, what are your thoughts?
Well, trying to persuade everybody to get vaccinated. We know what obstacles are in front of us. But again, the more we can persuade, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah.
And again, I'm still a fan of masking and in dense environments. If I go to a crowded department store, I still mask up.
I do, I do too.
One of the few, actually, it's funny. I went to the Big Y last week, right over in South Hadley. 30%, about 1/3 of the people were masked up last week. I couldn't believe it. That's the
Really?
highest percentage I've seen in a long time there. Yeah, 1/3.
Were they, a question, did you have a sense of which one of them, how big a group was wearing the N95 or KN95 versus just the surgical mask?
I think probably 90% of the people had the cheap surgical masks on.
Yeah. And that's the unfortunate thing is, and when I look at people like that, I say, boy, I'm happy you're doing it because you're protecting me. But I feel bad because I know they're the people, or I suspect they're the people that are trying to protect themselves.
Right,
And
right.
that it's not a great way to do it.
That's right.
So,
Okay.
so what else do we have, Colleen?
Are you going to talk about Lot 6 Cold Hill, the certificate of compliance?
It looks like what happened is the whole discussion that we had with Alan ends up
Okay.
making that, so it's not necessary that once he puts the tank in, and that's going to be a sign off that the whole system is in compliance.
Oh, okay.
Because that will put in the pipe that comes from the house. It does a new septic tank. It gets the new pipe from the tank to the D box, and that'll get them that one put to bed.
Okay, okay.
Dick, just a quick follow-up on this septic hauler. I found 2 forms. I don't know if we use them. One is called Application for Septic Hauler Permit, Form 5. It's a DEP form, and it says provided for use by BOHs if they choose to use it. The nice thing about this form is it's got, it says list all location where septage will be disposed. It says include a copy of the contract or the approval for use by the disposal location. So that's a generic one that the proposed hauler could use. And then secondly, there's a Form 4, which is a septic pumping record. Now, do we use the septic pumping record or not, that form, Dick?
Colleen can give us that, but certainly we could do that. We could tell them that they have to, every time they pump a system in Granby, that they have to give us that record.
Yeah, because what this has is it's got a bunch of information, and it says location where contents were disposed. It's got signature of hauler, then it's got signature of receiving facility or attached facility receipt. So that does provide the chain of custody built in. So again, if this Board of Health elects to use this form, it's available on DEP website.
You know,
Okay.
it makes sense to me that if someone's going to take something out of the ground in Granby, we ought to know that it was done and know that it was disposed of properly. Because otherwise, they could go right along the edge of the road and just open that valve and let it dump. And the guy,
That's right.
and the guy saves himself $100 disposal fee. And so he takes the whole pumpage fee and puts it in his pocket.
What I'll do is I'll copy this and I'll send it to everybody. At least we'll have it available if we opt to use it. If we don't want to use it, that's fine too. Whatever you guys would like to do, but at least it's available and it exists. That's the important thing.
Colleen, do you think you could put that on our next agenda to let us mull that over the next few weeks? And it would be a good time, Bill, if we're going to do it, say at the beginning of this, January 1st, this is the way we want all the pumpers to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'll put it on the next one. I think actually some of the haulers do send and I think it might be that Form 4. It's a pumping record. So I do
Yes.
get something. I don't think from everyone, but I think there are some companies that do send it to us, and I file it with the street, the
Okay.
street files.
Okay.
Because that, as it turns out, if you were unscrupulous with that system, if you wanted to get rid of something nasty, you could just dump it into your septic tank and have somebody pump it up, and it disappears.
Right.
The way it's set up. Somebody comes and picks it up and it brings it to a treatment plant and it goes in the river.
Actually, there's a CMR. It says 310 CMR 15.351. The system pumping record must be submitted to the BOH or other approving authority within 14 days of the pumping date in accordance with 310 CMR 15.351. So
there is a regulation that says you have to do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it says we can use this form or we could use our own form, maybe a simplified form. But apparently this form or a facsimile has to be submitted to the Board of Health within 2
So
weeks.
this guy should have known that.
That's the point. That's the point. Yes. That's what I was probing for, and he didn't offer that information.
So it's key to doing his business legally, and he didn't know it. Huh.
Did he tell us he was based out of Connecticut, or did I misinterpret?
Yeah, he said he was from, what town did he say he was from, Dick?
Berlin. But he
Yeah,
said
Berlin
he's got
is
another place in Enfield.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Berlin is I think it's a 860 area code. His cell phone that he had was a 203 area code, which is southwestern Connecticut.
Huh.
So he actually might be from Fairfield County or points west. But he's obviously not from the valley.
Yeah.
No. But
So anyway,
I mean,
for what it's worth.
Well, Colleen, I think it's what it's worthwhile doing, since this is no longer an optional. It's a legal requirement. It looks like the only thing that's optional is what form we want to use. From my standpoint, Bill and Lee, I would go along with the form Bill's talking about and tell these guys, Colleen, you get in touch with each one of them and say, you guys have to use this form for every single person that you pump in Granby.
Mhm.
Because that's not the Board of Health regulation, that's the state law.
right.
But that is disturbing that here's a guy that's going to be working in town that doesn't know the state law.
Well, exactly.
And even didn't respond when Bill says this doesn't make sense to me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So Colleen, what you could do for our next meeting though, is bring up whether we want to talk to each one of these guys, maybe get them to show up at a meeting like this and say, it's not being done uniformly enough. We want to talk to each one of you guys with a license about this. So they can't say, we didn't know.
Mhm.
So are we set then?
I think we're set for tonight.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, everybody. Vote.
Okay.
Don't forget
Good
to
evening,
vote.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay,
Okay.
good night.
Okay. Bye now. Good night.
Good night, folks.